So, today we're gonna be talking about the topic that nobody ever wants to talk about, which is money. I woke up in 2025 and noticed that I am being priced out of gaming entirely. For example, ever went out to buy a new visual novel only to realize that its price is £40 or otherwise $50? I don't know about you, but that is not something that I can actually afford when it comes to visual novels. My maximum for a visual novel is £25, and majority of visual novels that I've seen releasing up until this year were under 20. However, the one that I just showed in the slide before, we are on Chrome and these are my pictures that I just took on Steam, decided to release in AA prices. And AA prices now apparently mean £40. I don't know what rock I've been sleeping under, but I remember when AA prices were something like 20 to £30, which for a visual novel normally would be the most expensive end, like £25. So that really shocked me. But what about the AAA prices? Well, every single release that has been coming out this year so far would be not the kind of money that I can spend on a video game. The new stable price seems to be £59.99 or about £79.99 for premium editions. If you go to Civilization 7, they also have like a premium edition, which is £119. But it's fine, I can just never get the extra bells and whistles. How about we look at the base price of $59.99? Up until this year, once again, I don't know what rock I've been living on, but majority of the games that I've seen release in the AAA category used to be $49.99, so nearly £50. Now it's nearly £60. It might just be me. It might have been not something that happened overnight, but it is something that I've noticed. And at £50 flat, like $49.99, I would already be looking out for deals. At £60 flat, even if that game was 50% off, that puts it at £30. That puts it at near the price that I was used to paying for full-blown AAA titles a while ago. It's now hard to justify buying a game on a big sale, even if it is on a big sale. Like, I have to love something in order for me to buy it, which means that I now buy very, very few games. And by the way, I do have like dollar to pound sterling tabs in here, so $59.99, which is the new price, stable price in UK for AAA video games that are releasing, is $75. It is not that much worse than on the American side, which has stabilized at $69.99, even though I would love for us to have American prices because it would still make the games a little bit cheaper. And in regards to the visual novel that I've shown, if it had the American price, I might actually have been able to buy it because American price, stable price, not like a discount price that it released on, was $40. So for people in UK, they just took the price that they gave to Americans and then just replaced the dollar sign with the pound sign, which makes it so much more expensive for us. Now, there is something to look at, which is, are video games really more expensive? This is a very nice in-depth dive into the whole problem by gamesindustry.biz, and I'm gonna link the whole article, even though what we're gonna look at is like a bit of just like a couple of pictures and a bit of like sentences at the end. And I absolutely understand that the statements that I'm currently making might actually be entirely unfair to the developers, because games used to be quite a lot more expensive because we had the stable price of like $49.99 for quite a long time. So very early games were like $39.99 on release in dollars. But remember that this is minus all the inflation that has happened over the years. So what a singular dollar bought was entirely different. That's more expensive than what we have right now, is the point that I'm trying to make. For a lot of the time, the price kind of stuck to $49.99, and I guess I sorta got stuck in those prices. I don't know how that happened. Once again, $59.99 in dollars is another price that I've seen around. Once £49.99 is something that I've seen for a long time. I kind of got used to it. The jump to £60 AAA is new to me. It's $70. Even though, according to this article, this article has been written quite a few years ago now. It has been the stable price for PS5 games and the newest series of Xbox games for quite a while. So I don't know what rock I've been living under, but the whole £59.99, £60 thing for PC games is very new to me. It might not be very new in general, it's just very new to me, and it is not the price point that I actually can invest into gaming. Now, this is the slide that's video game prices adjusted for inflation. As you can see, if you were buying video games when Atari 2600 was the primary console, the amount of money that you would spend on gaming compared with the amount of money that you're gaining from employment was massive compared to what we have now. So me saying that the prices are high right now might not be entirely fair for the developers. And this article ends in a couple of very nice statements that I just want to read out, if that's okay with all of you. Although this is a fun exercise, it does reinforce the power of analyzing prices in relative terms and not in absolutes. The problem is that people do not operate or think in relative terms. We think in absolutes. When prices go up, we assess the new price against the old and judge the level of additional cost to personal wealth. And so what does this mean given what is happening with the high inflation today? For many consumers, games still feel expensive even if they are more affordable because of the sense of value that they afford. Where once gamers paid $60, now they're asked to pay $70 for what is arguably the same game in either graphical or gameplay terms. It also does not help the fact that social media puts pressure on gamers to buy games on day one. Video game publishers are posting record profits. Many of the games come with additional DLC or microtransactions expenditures, and free-to-play games can make paying for anything feel high. Now, something that I feel is not taken into consideration in said article is the massive cost of living crisis. This is information from UK's government, and we're only gonna be talking about one factor, even though there's a lot more factors that are kind of influencing this factor in particular. Around 6 in 10 adults are spending less on non-essentials because of cost of living increases. If we press onto housing, by the way, this is something that's sort of relative, but not entirely. The whole spending thing is something that we're definitely focusing on. Around a third of adults are finding it very or somewhat difficult to afford their rent or mortgage payments. I don't know what to tell you, except that my own energy, the thing that I'm paying for electricity right now, is gonna go up again in April. My council taxes are gonna go up again this year. The amount of money that people get actually does not go up as much as everything that you need to pay for, which means that we have less and less budget dedicated to fun little things. And this is not the fault of game developers. This is not the fault of anyone in the entertainment media or anyone producing items that could be considered non-essential. Clothing stores are going out of business left and right. High street stores inside town centers are going out of business left and right. Cinemas are going out of business left and right. Theaters are closing. It impacts a whole bunch of industries, and the answer is obviously not to pay your staff less, because that is an expensive expense that you have to make, which means that with the raising costs of staff, as you need to pay your staff, and a decreasing level of clientele, I imagine this is very, very hard to navigate and to balance. I completely feel you. I understand that. But one thing to understand is that your consumers don't have the money. If you release the game cheaper, you might get more consumers. I don't know how this weighs for these companies. Like, maybe having the price point where it is and just not getting my money makes more sense because there are some richer people that make up for it. But the higher that pricing goes, I guarantee you the less consumers you're gonna get. And that might be okay. That might be a field that you need to navigate. I completely understand. It is kind of entitled of me to expect the prices to like stay down, but I am saying to you that as a consumer, I can't afford the raising prices on entertainment. And because entertainment is not essential, this is the first expense that I'm willing to shelve. Having a roof above my head, having electricity, having running water, and having food in my mouth all rank higher than having entertainment. I can afford to never buy a new game ever again. I have a very extensive library on Steam, mostly thanks to things like Humble Bundle and all of the other bundling services that were very, very popular in like 2010s, like that decade right there. I used quite a few of them because quite a few of them used to do like $1 bundles, which were very affordable. And of course, it made games almost a throwaway commodity, which is not very nice for the whole industry. But it made it very affordable to get quite a large library, which means that while I wouldn't have quite a large library of AAA games in particular, I do have quite a large library, which means that I can afford to never buy another game ever again and still have my entertainment because I already have that entertainment. Now, what is fair for a lot of developers these days and producers, from the looks at articles that have recently came out, is $100 per AAA game that releases. Gaming Analyst says that there's hope in the industry that Grand Theft Auto 6 will cost $100. According to gaming industry analysts, developers and publishers have hope that Grand Theft Auto 6 could cost as much as $100, something that would help with rising development costs and allow others to raise their prices as well. I already can't really buy games at the price point of $75. There are a lot of games that come out, and they're the kind of games that I would have bought previously. The pictures that I have here are the games that I've been following and that I had to outright remove from my wish list because I know that I'm not gonna be affording that, even with a huge sale. Civilization 7. It has mixed reviews, and there's a lot of things that are not quite as satisfying in the newest edition, and honestly, that's a whole different topic. I own 6, I own Civilization 5, I own Civilization 4. I can't justify the £60 price mark. Your game has to be amazing for me to justify that price mark, because that is gonna be like 1 or 2 games that I buy in a year. Avowed. The reviews that exist are mostly positive. However, when it comes to being an RPG, I've heard that it's very, very stripped. You can't really attack other NPCs, you can't really steal from them. The story is very much on rails. The world is static, there isn't a lot of movement. It's obvious that this game was developed on a small budget. I can justify £20 for that. It's a game that I would be interested in trying, but not at £60 price mark. And if I have to wait until a massive sale down the line for me to be able to afford that, I am sure that by that point some other amazing RPG is gonna release that's gonna be taking my gaming budget for that year, and I'm not gonna be looking for Avowed in order to buy it at the £20 price mark when it's already years after release. It is a smaller RPG, and if it's gonna be my 1 or 2 purchases a year, I can't justify it. Now raise that to $100, and I guarantee you that for people living in UK, that wouldn't be actually $100, that would likely be £100, because developers like doing that for some reason, as if people in UK are suddenly super much richer because they're living in UK. That's not how currency works. Please do proper conversions. It's very easy to price out people living in UK out of your consumer base. This will be dropping my gaming purchases to 0 to 1 a year. Which means that your game needs to be the game of the year. And even then, I will be thinking I can buy the game of the year, or I can buy like 5 indie releases. Actually, depending on the price point, maybe even 10 indie releases. And with how many cute, smaller games there are, chances are my brain will weigh that the 10 smaller indie game releases will give me more joy, more bang for my buck, and longer play hours than that one purchase a year. I understand that balancing new budgets is hard. The economy isn't hard only for consumers. The economy is hard for developers as well, but you kind of have to weigh. Do you want to price your consumers out of being able to purchase your games? Are you now developing it as like a luxury product for the lucky few? Or are you trying to get the masses to buy your game, but at a lower price point? Is it worth it? Like, I don't know. Maybe you can get like several million sales at $100 and that's entirely worth it. And you can't get 4 million sales at $50. I don't know how these measurements are done, but I am saying that there is this measurement. When you're raising your game price to 100, this doesn't mean that you retain all of your consumers. This doesn't mean that your consumers will suddenly be like, oh, well, that's understandable. Let me give you more of my spare change, because your consumers no longer have spare change. That is the world that we're living in. And with tightening economic conditions, unfortunately, entertainment sector is definitely one of the ones that feel it first. And I don't know how that measurement goes. I don't know if this is worth it or not for you guys. I know that from the perspective of consumer, this is not something that I could afford. And this is not something that I could justify. And that is something that I wanted to talk about because guess what? Mirta likes buying games. Mirta likes having new games to play. I was looking forward to this one, but never in my life will I be able to justify a £40 visual novel, not even at a 10% sale, of £35. That is not a visual novel price. No. And never in my life will I pay £60 for a small RPG, especially when it's gonna be like one of my 2 purchases this year. Never in my life am I gonna pay £60 for a sequel to a game that's not received super well because some of the things it did poorer than the games that came before. That's just not gonna happen. So, what it leaves me with is disappointment and that nice purse of like 2 games that I can buy this year that just doesn't get used on things that maybe I've been looking forward to. So, yeah, I'm not gonna be putting more money into them because it just doesn't seem worth it. That's the video. I hope that we can get cheaper entertainment prices as consumers. I understand why that might be impossible. I understand that it's very hard for the industry right now, but it's also hard for me. But then again, it's me being selfish. What are your thoughts on this whole subject? How are you faring? Can you handle a $100 game? Is that something that would influence your purchasing decisions? How are you handling current prices? Once again, maybe I've been living under a rock. Maybe I've been looking at the wrong games. For me, this is new. I bet for a lot of people it isn't. I bet for a lot of people this new kind of prices have been around for a while. I don't know why I haven't noticed it. Once again, maybe the purchases that I was looking forward to the year prior and the year prior just weren't the kind of purchases that were charging this amount of money. And this year is just the year that it aligned with the AAA prices. I'm not super happy about it. I'm really not. Because it kind of sours me. It leaves me with nothing nice to look forward to. Because no way am I ever justifying a purchase like this. I can't. I can't. And then there's talks about making it more expensive, and I'm like, are you serious? And then I think maybe it's just me being poor. And then I think actually a lot of people are in the exact same situation as me, so I guess we're all gonna go outside and touch grass and it's gonna be fine. Thank you for watching this giant ramble. I would love for this video to spread around, honestly, because I would love to hear a variety of opinions, including opinions of people inside the industry, because it can't be easy. It can't be easy to be in an entertainment industry during global economic downturn of sorts. I wanted to be as fair as possible. I wanted to weigh all possible options while still expressing how I feel. So it's not me being angry. It's not me saying that it is unfair. It is me saying that I legitimately can't afford this and that that's sad for me, but it might be right for the industry. I don't know these things. I can only speak as a consumer. And as a consumer, I'm telling you that you're already pricing me out. That's it. That's the video. If you like videos like these, I do 1 or 2 videos where I talk about gaming related news and topics. Normally it's a broader subject because I tend to kind of pre-record these and then take like a couple of weeks off. So I'm not trying to ride the train of let me talk about a very current thing. I tend to talk about something that bothers me, that tends to stay that way for quite a while. I do retro gaming, so I do like 1 stream a week. And by the way, sometimes the video game talkie also gets replaced by spiritual occult stuff. This channel is weird. I am sorry, this channel is kind of just me. And I'm currently also making one video a week talking about my favorite tabletop, which is Vampire the Masquerade. That just be how the cookie crumble. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing because I love seeing that number go up. And thank you so much for my Patreon subscribers, which do still allow me to buy some games every year. Which leads me to something new to have and something new to talk about, and I appreciate that really deeply. So thank you for watching. I hope I get to see you in my other videos. Toodaloo.